On the news this morning, Anambra State government flags off Operation Desilt Your Drainage System. One Onyedika Okafor to be registered as a sexual offender in Anambra after the Sexual and Gender-Based Violence Court in Awka convicted him of rape. Federal government seeks credit window for airlines over jet fuel crisis. Highway blast in Colombia leaves over 20 people dead. Note, Monday's sit-at-home has ended in Anambra State. Governor Chukwuma Soludo has fully restored socio-economic and academic activities with renewed confidence and sustained peace. Anambra is back on the path of progress and prosperity. Be part of the success story. Good morning and welcome to the news. My name is Monya Mwokoye. Now, the Anambra State government, through the Ministry of Environment, has flagged off Operation Desilt Your Drainage System, warning that decisive action will be taken against defaulters. To commence the exercise in Awka, officials of the Ministry of Environment, led by the Permanent Secretary, Mr. Tochukwu Obodaga, visited strategic locations within the capital city and its environs, including Unizik Junction, Ekoka Market, Aroma Junction, and Nkwamenyi Market, where they helped to open up some drainages and sensitized residents and business owners on the need to comply with the directive of Governor Chukwuma Soludo. Our correspondent Emmanuel Okonkwo has more.
Speaking to the ABS shortly after the exercise, Mr. Obodoga explained that the directive requires residents, shop owners, landlords, churches, and other stakeholders to clear drainage channels and waterways around their premises as part of efforts by the Soludo administration to maintain clean, healthy, and flood-free environment in line with the vision of making Anambra State a smart city. He disclosed that the ministry had earlier engaged churches, abattoirs, mayors of the 21 local government areas of the state, landlord associations, market unions, and other groups in the state to ensure full compliance, stressing that the government would not tolerate violations as defaulters risk fines or imprisonment.
As a heavy rainfall sets in now, these obstructions may result in flooding, erosion, and environmental degradation that might cause devastation to lives and property if not properly handled. A cleaner, healthier, and sustainable Anambra city is what everybody is wishing. There will be enforcement and prosecution to defaulters, and we are doing this in line with environmental laws.
Mr. Obodoga further noted that Anambra currently has over 1,000 erosion sites, adding that the aim of the operation is to ensure free flow of water, prevent flooding, environmental degradation, and possible loss of lives and property. In Awka, I am Emmanuel Okonkwo, reporting for ABS News.
One Onyedika Okafor, aged about 34, is to be registered as a sexual offender in Anambra after the Sexual and Gender-Based Violence Court in Awka convicted him of raping and unlawfully imprisoning his victim. It was gathered that on 8 October 2022, the defendant, who was then 30 years old, armed himself with a gun, went to the premises of the victim who lived with her aunt at Ezinefite in Awka South, and demanded that she come out. Sussex explained that the victim's aunt was not at home at the time of the incident, and when neighbors tried to intervene, the defendant brandished a gun and forcefully took the victim to an uncompleted building where he had unlawful carnal knowledge of her, and later released the victim at about 3 a.m. At the police station, after the defendant was arrested, he claimed that the victim was his girlfriend and denied any wrongdoing. At trial, the prosecution, led by Assistant Chief State Counsel Barrister Chikodele and more, called 4 witnesses, including the victim's aunt, the investigating police officer, and the doctor who conducted the medical examination and confirmed tears and trauma, while the defendant testified in his defense and called 1 witness. Upon conclusion of the trial and evaluation of evidence, Justice Peace Oti, who found the defendant guilty, sentenced him to 14 years imprisonment for rape and 2 years imprisonment for unlawful imprisonment, and also ordered that he be registered as a sexual offender in the state. The Register for Sexual Offenders is a strategic platform aimed at fighting the upsurge in cases of rape and defilement in Anambra by naming and shaming convicted offenders to serve as deterrent to others. And now to tackle Nigeria's worsening jet fuel shortage and price surge, the federal government has asked marketers to grant airline operators a 30-day credit window and sell aviation fuel directly to them. The development is equal to a series of high-level engagements convened by the Nigerian Midstream and Downstream Petroleum Regulatory Authority following an earlier meeting called by the Minister of Aviation and Airspace Management on April 22 to 23, 2026. The session brought together representatives from the Ministries of Aviation and Petroleum Resources, as well as major aviation agencies including the Federal Airports Authority of Nigeria, Nigerian Airspace Management Agency, Nigerian Civil Aviation Authority, airline operators and aviation fuel marketers, according to a copy of the executive summary of the meeting obtained by one of our correspondents in Abuja on Monday. The stakeholders called for urgent regulatory intervention to stabilize prices, urging the authority to engage relevant bodies to review pricing components linked to international benchmarks. It added that the pricing benchmarks were derived from Platts average prices recorded between April 17 and 23, 2026, warning that prices could climb even higher outside that window. On the foreign scene, the death toll from a deadly highway bombing in southwestern Colombia has risen to over 20. Governor Octavio Guzman said that the death toll included over 15 women and 5 men. There were also 36 people injured, including 3 who remained in intensive care as of Monday, and 5 minors who are out of danger. Guzman said in an update shared on social media, a dozen of the victims were from a village near the town of Cajibio, where hundreds of mourners held a vigil on Monday. The mourners were dressed in white and waved white sheets of balloons as a sign of peace. The bombing was one of the deadliest attacks in Colombia since the now defunct Revolutionary Armed Forces of Colombia blew up a Bogota nightclub in 2003, killing 36 people. On sports news, FIFA is considering a significant change to its disciplinary rules ahead of the expanded FIFA World Cup, aiming to reduce the number of players suspended for accumulated yellow cards. The proposal would introduce a second amnesty point in the tournament, wiping all yellow cards at the end of the group stage, as well as after the quarterfinals. Under current regulations, players are suspended after receiving 2 yellow cards across a sequence of matches, a system that can see key players miss crucial knockout fixtures. With the World Cup set to grow from 32 to 48 teams, the number of matches required to reach the latter stages will increase. Teams will need to play an additional round, meaning players could feature in up to 6 matches before semi-finals. FIFA believes this raises the risk of suspensions for relatively minor offenses, with more players potentially missing high-stakes games. Rather than increasing the suspension threshold to 3 yellow cards, FIFA officials feel introducing 2 cutoff points is a fairer solution. Under the proposed system, players would need to receive 2 bookings within a shorter span of matches, either during the group stage or across the knockout rounds up to the quarterfinals to trigger a ban. The change is designed to preserve discipline while ensuring that major matches are less likely to be decided by the absence of top players due to accumulated cautions. The proposal is expected to be discussed at an upcoming FIFA Council meeting where a final decision on the rule adjustment could be made. And with that, we conclude the news and the main points of the news once again. Anambra State government has flagged off Operation Deseal to your drainage system. One Onyedika Okafor to be registered as a sexual offender in Anambra after the Sexual and Gender-Based Violence Court in Awka convicted him of rape. Federal government is seeking credit window for airlines over jet fuel crisis. Highway blast in Colombia has killed over 20 people. Note, Monday sit-at-home has ended in Anambra State. Governor Chukwuma Soludo has fully restored socio-economic and academic activities with renewed confidence and sustained peace. Anambra is back on the path of progress and prosperity. Be part of the success story. And that's the news. We thank you so much for watching. My name is Nonya Mokoye. Good morning and have a beautiful day.